Crowhill here. Today we review a brown ale and discuss Abu Dhabi. Hello and welcome to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Good evening, Pigweed.
Well, good evening, Crowhill. I'm still pouring my beer.
Oh, okay. So what's on your mind today?
What's on my mind? Well, robot camel jockeys.
Robot camel jockeys.
Yes, it's not only would be a great name for a band.
Yeah, or a horse maybe.
I just came across the fact that there were so many children injured in camel racing.
Yeah.
In the Middle East,
Yeah.
that now they all have robots.
My goodness.
With little whip arms
That ride the camels.
and people drive on the outside.
Yeah.
With a remote control.
Oh my goodness, controlling the
But they're not controlling
the camel. They're
not-
controlling the robot.
Yeah, but there's no reins on.
It is controlling the whip.
They're just controlling the whip, so you're entirely relying on the camel.
Wow.
It just seems so. All right. So the good reason is to get lighter and lighter jockeys. They kept moving down to 6 and 7 year olds.
Yeah.
On a
Okay. That's
2,000 pound animal running 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's not
Can you
acceptable.
imagine the
Yeah.
injuries?
Yeah.
And of course, they're not local kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
These are immigrant kids from somewhere else.
Importing small kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then shipping them back with unset bones
Right.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's just
so
horrible.
what a normal people would say, all right, we'll institute some rules about it. And then they're like, yeah, nobody's going to follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just eliminate the jockey altogether and build
Okay.
camel jockeys.
That sounds reasonable to me.
But now, yes, it's mostly the horse. Someone's just talking about horse racing. Oh, most of it has to do with the quality of your horse.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of skill in being the jockey.
Of course.
Well, you just remove that entirely.
Yeah,
now
there's
you've
no-
just got a robot,
But no, there's
and a
still some
camel.
skill because the person doing the little quirk.
but he's not steering.
He's just whipping.
He's just whipping.
You just do the occasional whipping, driving around on the outskirts.
Okay.
Anyway, so that just got me thinking about the United Arab Emirates,
Right,
which
yeah.
is where this is Dubai.
Okay.
And I thought we should do a show on that, but not until we have this delicious beer that you brought.
Okay. All right. Good. So this is Witness Tree Nut Brown Ale from Antietam Brewery. We did Antietam just a couple of times
We
ago,
did.
and the question that I have about Nut Brown Ale, which actually one of my daughters brought up to me, is what does the nut signify? Is it a nut brown ale, or is it a nut brown ale?
So it nut colored
Exactly.
or nut
Or
flavored?
nut flavored. Yes, right. That's an interesting question, isn't it? It had never occurred to me over the many, many years I'd been drinking brown ales to even ask that question.
So here's a project for you high schoolers out there trying to come up with a science project.
There you go. Yeah.
See, yes, you put different types of ales out there and see if squirrels prefer the nut brown ale or not.
There you go.
Yeah,
And I'm hearing this other voice though. And there's some
see,
other
the thing is,
clinking and
I'm used to Longinus being here for all things literary. Now he just shows up.
it just shows up for any other kind of
Anytime.
thing. Hey,
Longinus
Longinus.
is here for our UAE show.
All right,
Okay, that's
fantastic,
very good.
very good. So Witness Tree Nut Brown Ale, Antietam Brewery. It's a little bit more astringent than I was expecting.
But this is good. So we just had we had a porter,
Yeah, a sweet porter.
a sweet porter. Actually, we've had 2 beers in the same night. That's kind of nuts.
That's a little crazy. Yeah.
But this, you can.
It's got a good flavor. I like it. I enjoy it, but it does have a touch of astringency on the tongue. That's
Yeah,
a
it doesn't
little,
have the sweetness, but it's
No.
definitely
It's a good beer. I
a
like
very
it.
good brownie. I don't know if it's nutty or not.
Is it nut
Right, so-
colored or is it nut flavored? I don't
So
know.
there's no answer. Is it the color nut or is it the?
Well,
I don't know.
nut.
Who do we ask to get
well,
that?
I'm sure one of
Google.
our wise listeners is gonna
Sure.
let
Yes,
us know what
and
they
we'll
think.
we'll probably have a question in a
Yes.
future episode. All right. So fantastic. The UAE.
So
Yeah.
if you look at the the map of the Arabian Peninsula,
Right.
it is mostly Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And how it is that the Saudi Arabia didn't just take the entire peninsula, we can get into a little bit. But so we've got off to the Persian Gulf here, you've got a little thumb called Qatar or Qatar, or people just keep changing the name.
Right.
Bahrain, which is just an island itself.
Yeah.
And then larger than that, you have the United Arab Emirates, which is about what size? What do we have here?
Sort of roughly the size of Maryland and Delaware combined.
Yes.
With a wee bit of Virginia.
With a wee bit of Virginia.
yeah. It's not very big. Then although here, look at this weird situation here where you've got Oman. So Oman and Yemen are the ones that are on the Arabian Sea all the way out. So the water at the UAE is just the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. This is part of Oman, and then this. There's a little
tiny piece.
A tiny piece that isn't even touching the water. So it's not like they retained a port.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's bizarre. I didn't know about that.
That is a weird history there, but I don't know what it is.
The UAE is most of the shore on the UAE is in the Persian Gulf. There's a little piece of it that's on the Gulf of Oman. But so if you were to picture the Arabian Peninsula, you got the Red Sea on the western side, and on the eastern side you get the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and on the south you've got the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea.
Right. And
Saudi Arabia takes up the vast majority of it. The United Arab Emirates is right across the Persian Gulf from Iran.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is historically was an important trading route, and whoever has this little area here controls what goes in and out.
Strait of Hormuz, which has been in the news from time to time when that area has been threatened in terms of shipments of oil. Because there's a lot of oil that flows through that area.
And
it's a choke point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It's a choke point, and the British controlled the area, as you could imagine, back in the day, in the 1800s. And but this is before oil.
Yeah.
So really they didn't really have that much going on. There's some fishing, and there were pearls.
Yeah.
So pearls were really the biggest industry that's going in and out of the UAE. At some point, the Brits are getting ready to pull out, and they organize these Emirates, the trucial states. Okay. Trucial meaning truce.
Yeah.
So they're going, all right, look, you guys need to get your act together because individually you're not strong enough to hold yourselves together.
Right.
How about we need to formalize an organization between you 6 guys, turned out to be 7 later, that have become the United Arab Emirates. And so an emir is, I don't know, what, the head of a tribe or something? Is that how the term works?
Something like that. Right.
And so the term, then places that you're going to be most familiar, names are going to be Abu Dhabi and Dubai, which are separate emirates, plus the other 5.
Right.
Who knows what they do.
Yeah.
Now, it just so happens that about the time that the Japanese figured out how to make cultured pearls, the bottom drops out of really their only economy right before they strike oil.
Okay.
So that's pretty convenient.
Yes. And a lot of the Middle East, that's where all their money comes from, is from oil.
Right. It was, but it didn't come from anywhere. So nobody was all that interested in what went down there until the 1950s.
Right.
Nothing was happening.
Exactly.
Just nothing happening.
Why would we care?
Why would anybody care?
Right.
I mean, there was. So geographically, I guess I think of falling asleep to watching 4 hours of Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
And just seeing wide open expanses of sand.
Yeah.
Thinking that really the entire peninsula looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
It doesn't, but large portions of it do.
Large portion.
I mean, Saudi Arabia, large portions of it are just plain desert.
yes, there's a section there. I think that's how Saudi Arabia gets separated from Yemen and Oman. Is that there's the
mountain
largest?
range, right?
It's the largest expanse of nothing but sand in the whole world.
Okay.
And there are no rivers.
Yeah.
In the entire peninsula.
Wow.
But this is what I found fascinating, as far as the geography goes, that the highest point is 1,900 meters.
Okay.
That's 6,000 feet. That's
Yeah.
higher. That's higher than the highest. Well, the highest point on the East Coast is like 6,800 feet
Okay.
in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that the highest point in the UAE would be like 200 feet.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So 6,000 feet.
That's a high. That's
pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there recently.
Wait a minute. I was looking for somebody to get on the show who'd actually been there.
Yeah. So I just recently went to the UAE.
Jeez, what
And,
else did I not know about you?
I don't know. So I was there recently, and I didn't see any mountains.
Okay.
But of course, I mean, all I really saw was the airport, and the place where I went for an event,
Okay.
and then I went to the Grand Mosque, and I went to swim in the Persian Gulf, and was around there for a few days.
Fantastic.
Didn't get to see a whole lot of things, but there were some very interesting.
All right, is this the Grand Mosque? This picture here?
Yes,
that's
the
the
place.
picture at night.
Yes, and it's an amazing
Well, that's stunning.
place.
I mean, it is absolutely stunning.
It is absolutely amazing. It's all white,
Right.
but at night, and this is not just for the Grand Mosque, but a lot of places in UAE, they shine different colored lights on things.
Yeah.
It's just kind of something they do. And so at night, the Grand Mosque could be lit up with. When I saw it, it was blue.
I think that's what this picture here
Yeah.
looks like. It's got
But
a blue
it's
look to it.
absolutely stunning. It's only maybe 15 years old. I think.
Right. Oh, really? So this is not
it's a
some
brand
ancient
new
structure.
No. It's,
Well, actually,
it's
there's nothing
built as
ancient in the whole. It was mud until they found money in the ground.
See, the UAE, I think they're following the Singapore model of
Yeah.
saying, we've got to build an economy based on trade and other things that, up until now they've been making their money based on oil, and they realize oil is not forever. So they're going to have to build an economy based on something else. So they've been doing all kinds of things to bring other sorts of business into the country. That's part of why I was there. Is they're trying to bring in
I see international conferences.
yes,
like you were
exactly.
Okay.
So they're trying to bring in other sorts of industries into Dubai. Mostly, that's where most of the
Well, thank you for having a little
Financial
forward thinking.
industries.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's become a very rich area. And one thing that's very interesting about the UAE is only 10% of the people in the UAE are natives. They brought in 90% of the population from other parts of the world to come in and do various kinds of jobs.
From
So
what
that-
other parts?
All right, so
Everywhere.
here I've got the Emirati 11.6, South Asian meaning India, Bangladesh, Pakistan,
Right.
60%,
Yeah.
10 Egyptian, 6 Filipino, and another 12 from wherever.
Yeah.
So Michael, I got a little note over here to myself. Where's your national identity?
Yeah, so
how
that's-
do you
exactly.
maintain a national identity when you are barely 10%?
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting question. So I was talking to this one guy who was part of the group that brought me over there, and we were talking about
Where's he?
things-
Where's he from?
He
Is he local?
I think he was local.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were talking about like how do you build a culture in a country like this?
Yes.
And one of the problems they had in Abu Dhabi was there was a lot of crime, and there was a lot of problems with people speeding and car accidents and all that kind of stuff. So they clamped down very, very strictly on driving. And in Abu Dhabi, there's a camera every 100 feet on the road,
Jeez.
and they're monitoring you constantly. And when the taxi is going above the speed limit, a little message comes up on his thing "You're driving too fast. Please slow down."
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like
So,
it's like
some serious surveillance
It is some
going
serious
on.
Big Brother surveillance.
But
going
you know,
on.
you got tons of money in a small in a tight location.
Yes.
It's pretty easy to.
I mean, where you were, was it a city, and how many people were there?
It was a city, yeah, and it was a very developed city. If you go down to downtown Abu Dhabi, there's big, very tall office buildings. And the area where I was, which was, I was in a hotel, but there was, if you look out the window, there were just a very large area of maybe 4-story apartment buildings that kind of stretched out all over the place. And usually what you'd have is there'd be some sort of a business on the ground floor, on the street level, and then you'd have apartments and things above that. But the thing about the culture that I thought was very interesting was like, and we're gonna have to talk about this in another episode, but the whole question of libertarianism is, you don't bother me, I don't bother you. Let's just get along and not have any laws. That's not the attitude in the UAE. The attitude in the UAE is, no, we're trying to form a culture, and the law has to do more than that. The law has to kind of create an attitude, an image, a lifestyle. And fortunately, in the UAE, part of that lifestyle, part of the culture they're trying to inculcate, is one of tolerance and respect. And what you would see in the UAE is it's a Muslim culture, so you'd see women wearing the hijab, head covered, long sleeves, dressed down, and right next to them you'd see somebody in provocative Western wear. And
yeah, but that, to me, but those are tolerance. Tolerance and respect for a culture can sometimes clash.
Exactly. I don't know how they manage it because it's very odd. At the same time, you have this attitude of, we're a Muslim culture. You hear the call to prayer however many times today, wherever
I'm
you are.
surprised that Westerners would not, on their own, if not being encouraged by the host country, just on your own, don't dress like you're going out on to a London nightclub.
That's so. Before I went, one of the guys who sponsored me going over there said, "Look, this is a conservative culture. Dress conservatively. Don't talk about these topics.
Fair enough.
Fine.
Fair enough.
Your country, I'll do what you want.
Right. Don't bring Hustler magazines and a fifth of whiskey with you.
Exactly.
Okay, I can do that.
I can do that. So, so that was my attitude. However, when I was in this conference, at one point I'm looking at this one booth, and this was a lot of money at this conference. These were big booths, a lot of money being spent, and you'd see a man in the white sheikh outfit, white head to foot with the scarf with the black thing around his head, and then you see he's talking to a woman who's in the hijab. She's covered, everything except her face is covered. And then 2 seats over, there's this woman essentially wearing a bra and tight pants.
What's she thinking?
And, exactly. What, I don't know what she was thinking, but
But there weren't Saudi
but
Arabian
the morality police didn't come and arrest her.
Well, yeah.
So somehow or other, they promote.
I'd be okay with that.
I don't understand how they do this, but somehow or other, they promote at the same time this tolerance of what other people want to do, and this ethic of being an Islamic country.
Well, what percentage of the country is Islamic?
That's a good question because
You got that?
I too got that from the CIA fact book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's mostly it comes pretty close to the lines that we just talked about. You have a lot because you have a lot of
people from Asia coming in there. A lot of people from Africa.
So you're going to have a lot of Pakistanis,
right?
That are also going to be Muslims. So the numbers
yeah.
numbers are going to go up from there.
Mm-hmm. But you have a lot of Asians. You have a lot of Africans there too.
But there are a lot of Christians, Jews.
Yep.
But I'm just.
The UAE did have direct flights to Tel Aviv, so they have actually reasonable relationships with Israel. So
Right.
it's not. My impression, and I'm not in any way saying I'm an expert on the UAE. My impression was that the UAE is sort of the Episcopalians of the Arab world. They're kind of the tolerant, let's get along.
Sounds more like the Quakers. But it's what in the 9th, 10th, and 11th centuries, the Islam world was so much more tolerant than the Christian world, and you were a full citizen if you were a Jew or a Christian living in an Islamic country.
Well,
or
sort of.
Islamic.
You had to pay a tax.
You had to pay a tax. Yeah, you weren't a full citizen. You were treated with a certain level of respect, but you still had to pay a tax. Yeah.
Well, what I think about this. So looking at the UAE, I saw the Palm Islands.
Yeah.
The artificial islands that, from a global view, was really super cool.
It was.
And then they decided, wait a minute, that's not enough. Then we're going to build another set of islands that looks like the world, and then another set of islands that looks like the universe. Over here, so it was like in 2006, I think, in 2008 or something. Yeah. They said, all right, we're going to create this palm-shaped thing. They're going to be worth...
Yeah.
I saw that, and it looked cool from the...
It did look cool.
From the sky, but not from the street.
Yeah. So when I went there, I had to do my business, but I had 3 other goals that I wanted to do. One of them was to swim in the Persian Gulf.
Boom.
One of them was to go to the Grand Mosque.
Check.
And one of them was to eat something that I had never eaten before.
Right.
Okay. But when I went to swim in the Persian Gulf, I went to this. People told me go to this beach. So I went to it's a beautiful beach.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when I go to the beach, I expect to see nothing but sea in front of me. I expect.
That's what it means to be.
Exactly. That's what it means to be at the beach. I expect to be at the beach and see nothing but water, as far as I can see. Not there.
All right.
Because there's all these artificial islands.
Okay.
So you're there at the beach, and you're looking out, and there's a stinking island just over there.
Now, what the stuff that I looked at, some of these things were developed, and some were just the islands themselves, and that had not been developed yet. What were you looking
they're
at?
They're for sale. I was looking at this island that had this enormous hotel on it.
It did?
Oh, yeah.
How far away from where you're standing on the beach?
I don't know. It was a mile away, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that far at all. And the beach was lovely, and I got to swim.
Now, is it just like Gulf, like barely any waves kind of Gulf?
It was just as calm as could be.
Yeah.
So it was open water swimming, but it was like swimming in a lake.
And now, so when you're standing up to your chest, can you see down to your feet? Or
Perfectly clear. It was very clear, and the temperature was lovely. And so a lot of people ask me whether it was saltier than like the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
It was salty, but I can't tell.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was salty or...
probably not. I think that's just a Dead Sea kind of a situation.
Maybe.
So, like in the city, as was there a part of the city where you would walk around where there was sort of a downtown pedestrian area?
Yeah.
Where did you do? Where does the retail and the trade and the markets all
so
happen?
it's interesting. There were malls that looked very Western.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the mall and it just looks like a Western mall. You go in and there's a Starbucks and there's a Bed Bath & Beyond.
But I guess since it's 130 in the summer, is it more indoor mall than there is like street retail?
Well, there's both.
Okay.
There's the indoor malls, but like when I was driving down to the beach, you're going down the road and a lot of the buildings on the side they all have like some sort of a business down on the first floor, and then 3 or 4 levels of apartments or something above that. So there's a lot of that kind of commerce going on. But there were a lot of malls that just you walk in and you think you're in a regular American mall, except that there were more security personnel around, and that you'd see things in both English and Arabic. And there are some small things you'd notice that were different, but
was there any interaction that you couldn't have in English?
No, I spoke English with everybody. Everybody spoke English.
And nobody
had
any.
There's never any problem. Now there were some people whose English wasn't all that great, but it was never a problem.
Cab driver from
never a problem
Nigeria.
Communicating with anybody.
So did you go bar hopping?
Well, that's an interesting question. So in the hotel, there's a bar, but like you go to a regular. Usually when I go on a trip, you can just go to the gas station and somebody will be selling beer. You know?
Or at least tell you where you can get
exactly. And there's usually a liquor store close by. So the first night I got there, I'd heard that it was date season, and I wanted to eat something I hadn't eaten before. I've never had a fresh date, so I wanted to go get some fresh dates. So I go down to the mall and I go to the produce place, and I bought some fresh dates. And I went outside and I asked the security guy, "Is there any place around here I can get a beer?" And he looks at me like I'm crazy. Like, why? What are you talking about? No place in the mall. I said, like, how about the Chili's? There's a Chili's right up there.
There was?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Chili's. No.
Oh, no chili.
No beer at the Chili's. So it turns out that you can buy beer and wine and stuff in the hotel, and then there are these special stores that you can go to where you can get beer and wine. So I went.
But was there a hotel bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then and there were signs in the hotel, ladies' night on Thursday night and
okay.
that sort of thing. Yeah, that was relatively
welcoming.
normal. Yeah, and then so you ask, like, where can I go buy a bottle of wine? And they take you to this store that's it's like a hotel store. It's like where the hotels buy their beer and wine. So you go there and you buy your beer and wine. But there aren't very many of them, and they're sort of hidden away in corners.
Yes, I had difficulty communicating with you while you were there, trying to get some texts and stuff from you. I don't know what was going on. But one I got from you, it said, "I feel like such a criminal trying to find beer here."
Yeah, because you go and ask the security guard, "Where can I get a beer?" And he looks at you like you're a horrible person.
So what I do is I respond to you, going, "Hey, how'd that go?" And I got message blocked. And my thought was, well, I guess he found the beer, and it didn't go very well.
And got arrested.
Yes,
Yeah.
because then I didn't hear anything from you until I got like 6 consecutive messages when you were on the plane or something like that. There was some blocking going on.
I don't understand that, because
the pictures of the Grand Mosque that you sent, I got 6 or 7 of them after you were like back in the States.
Yeah, so I don't know what was happening, because
surveillance.
some things went through easy. Because I was on Wi-Fi in the hotel and at the conference, so I was able to talk on the phone, and I was able to do certain applications went through fine. Yeah, but other things like sending text messages, for some reason they didn't go through.
Yeah, I just figured, well,
maybe they were being reviewed by the UAE authorities. Now here's another thing: I like to walk, so it was about a 20-minute walk from the hotel to the conference, so I would just walk each day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was walking along, and I see these interesting buildings, and I'd take pictures of them. One time, I saw this really cool building. I started to take a picture. I started to take a video, and the security guy came out. No, because it was an embassy. They don't like you taking pictures of the embassy.
Okay.
Yeah. Also,
now, go ahead.
I told you that they had this problem with traffic violations, so they've cracked down on that, and they've got the cameras and everything else. Well, everybody there obeys the walk, don't walk signals. I mean, they really obey them. Right. And so you don't walk when it doesn't say.
We like think of them as a suggestion.
Exactly.
It's like, look both ways really good, because you're not really supposed to cross.
Yeah, downtown DC, I don't pay much attention to these things. I just cross the road whenever I want to cross the road. In UAE, no. If it says don't walk, don't walk.
That's good. Now, speaking of surveillance, Longinus and I went to a beer and oyster fest in an Uber. And what did you tell me, Longinus, that you got text messages?
Put on your seatbelt.
You got a text message.
It was, please wear your seatbelt in the Uber. And I wasn't wearing the seatbelt in the Uber.
Right. So and he got multiple messages. Like, were they checking to see that we're we're not sitting in
reminder, or
we're in the back seat.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's some detects whether the thing is connected.
I hope not. Is that how Uber's part of the surveillance state
I don't
now?
know. I don't know.
Gosh,
but in UAE, I just obeyed all the rules and tried to be a good boy. But it was funny because a couple times I'm in the cab, and the cab's driving, and you get that message: "You're driving too fast. Please slow down." And I heard other people sometimes you're driving along, you get a message from the police while you're driving, because
I mean, if there's a camera every 100 feet, they
yeah.
know what the heck you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop
So
walking like that. You look ridiculous. Stand up straight.
it's very safe. It's completely safe, and never
Right.
Strong police state.
I never felt threatened in any way, any place that I was,
Right.
day or night, at all. However, that comes at the cost of you're being filmed, and
Well, you were talking about how at least they seem to recognize the fact that you can't just dig money out of the ground forever.
Yeah, right.
And you need to do something. And so what they've decided is to make it a kind of a tourist destination.
And a commercial center. Yes.
Right, by having these super cool buildings
Yeah.
and super cool hotels in this Palm Island
Mm-hmm.
thing, and they have in Dubai the tallest building in the world.
Right.
But so yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's got its own appeal, I guess. But if you're an Emirati, you're hiring, American architects, British
Right.
engineers,
Yeah.
and South Asian labor.
Yeah.
All you're doing is signing off on the design and writing the check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like,
pretty much so.
how much national pride is there in, look at us and our most, I think the next biggest one is being built in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Hmm.
But the
Supposed to be
United
bigger than that.
Arab Emirates is how old as a country, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not very old.
1971
1971.
is when the seven of them came together. And
But
So,
that's an
yeah.
interesting question, because yes, you can turn it into a commercial hub and a tourist hub and do all these things, but how are you creating a sense of national identity
That's
around
right.
that?
And at 10%, I mean, I would be
Takes
very
time.
concerned that that your national identity. Well, it takes time. It takes time for you to lose your identity. It's hard. I don't know how you would not at you're 10% of the population of your own country.
Right.
How do you just all of a sudden not just become part of some
Right.
mishmash
Right.
of international?
But how long
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the United States when it was 50 years old was more immigrants than it was natives? And in different areas. I mean,
Yes,
Baltimore
and we
was more
created
immigrant.
some fresh new American identity. I don't think that
Right,
the
but not-
Emiratis are looking for some fresh new combination of different things. I think they want to maintain.
Yeah,
Their
it's a
own.
fascinating question. How do you bring a whole bunch of people into your country, but still preserve some sense of national identity and national purpose?
Yeah.
And it's a very
I don't
interesting.
think there is a national identity or purpose.
In UAE.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is. I think there was a very clear. There were a few things that were very clear messages. It's a Muslim country.
Okay, that's
But-
Christianity, right? I mean, well, that's religion, right?
Okay,
Right?
and that they're tolerant. There was a lot of emphasis on tolerance.
Isn't that what the
Everywhere I
United
went.
States started out as?
I don't know. Is
Yeah, it did.
Did we emphasize tolerance?
Well, the Bill of Rights.
Okay.
Maryland's Religious Freedom Act,
Yeah.
which was tolerance if you were.
But
Christian.
if they're
That's
trying
right.
to hang on to an Arabian Muslim,
Right.
like in Saudi Arabia, which is 99% Saudi
Yeah.
Arabian,
Right.
it's not going to be the same situation as when you're at 10%.
Yes. That's got to be a huge challenge.
Yes, it's got to be a challenge. I mean,
So the guy who
good for
gave
them to figure out. Hopefully, they can figure out the balance so that I mean, so your next generation, when your Emirati children grow up and they're going to school with.
Yeah.
And they're only 10% of the school class.
Exactly.
Or do they have their own schools and their own,
It probably varies different places in the country. I mean, the country isn't big,
Sure. Yeah.
but I'm sure Abu Dhabi and Dubai are different than out in the country, so to speak.
Right.
But
Well,
so
out of the
the-
country, it's probably more
More,
arid, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So the guy who did the kickoff speech for the conference was from the royal family, and he was the minister. I wish I could remember this exactly. He was like the minister of tolerance and inclusion, or something.
Some very
that was-
Western sounding
Yeah,
thing.
that was his title. And so there's just a huge emphasis in UAE on
Interesting.
being open, and I thought it was very nice. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't like the police state aspect of it. That rubs me the wrong way. But I do like the idea of
Well, they don't
having order and having trying to form a culture. How exactly they do it, I'm not sure. But
Well, it would be interesting to see if they do, in their Constitution, do they have a Bill of Rights? Or what does it look like?
Right.
Do they have that? And that would be interesting. Yeah, the surveillance thing, it's coming. I mean, it's here in America.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Some
we're
states,
being surveilled. We're just not being told we're being surveilled.
Yeah, right. I
Well,
mean,
we're not,
actually,
we're being surveilled by corporations more than anybody. I mean, the government's not surveilling us as much as the corporations.
Oh, they're not.
They're
all
one
right.
of the, I think they're the same thing.
I think they are surveilling.
But actually, I'd be okay with them writing a ticket for a woman in a mini skirt, right?
Yeah.
In the spirit of you know what? We're not that kind of country. We don't do that here.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they have that level.
I know.
Yeah,
you have to have at some point
until
you
you
have
find
to draw
out.
a line.
Until you find out that woman is a billionaire, and then you're like, well,
No, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. But at some point you can't have the strict libertarian position of if you're not breaking my nose or my arm or something, then what you're doing is okay. That just doesn't really work in real life. You have to have, okay, we don't have a law against walking up and down the metro car just cursing at everybody.
Just screaming and farting.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have a law against that.
We don't have a fire law.
Therefore, it's okay. No, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. You can't have a culture like that. There have to be some expectations of the way you're supposed to live and the way you're supposed to behave, and I think that's a part of libertarianism that they really haven't figured out. How do you deal with that that side of things?
All right. Well, that's a show coming to you.
Yeah, coming to you soon from. So anyway, UAE was fascinating.
Well, that's
fantastic. I wish I'd like to spend more time and figure out a little bit more about the country, but it was fun. Wasn't too hot. It was in November.
Right.
It was 90s in the daytime, 72 at night. My hotel had a lovely pool. I swam in every day, except for the day I swam in the Persian Gulf.
All right.
And it was all very nice.
How many days?
Got there Monday night. Was there Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, left Friday morning. Right.
Well, awesome.
Well, very good.
Very good.
So, two robot camel jockeys.
Two robot camel jockeys. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.